opportunity.
You're welcome. I appreciate you. So Paul Sponcia here, CEO of the IT company, bringing another one of our virtual conversations, this time with Steve Diggs, who is, I guess executive director, CEO, whatever the role is of Emerald Youth. And I've known Steve for quite a while, and Emerald Youth is a pretty recognizable brand in Knoxville. But I thought as we get started, it's always good, Steve, for you just to tell everybody who Emerald Youth is, kind of what the mission is, who you serve, and then obviously what your role is.
Yeah, well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate having this opportunity today and for you to allow us a chance to tell about our organization, some things going on in this critical time, but we consider it an honor. We are an organization now, Christian Youth Development Ministry, and we've been in business and service now for about over 30 years.
Wow.
I came straight out of college, Maryville College, was on a path to seminary, but I landed in a little small church that had a vision to reach children in the neighborhood. And I said, hey, I'll help for a few months before I go to school. I never went to school.
30 years later.
We began what's now Emerald Youth Foundation. And I tell people, if you hear me preach or teach, I never went to seminary. So that's for sure. But God really just gifted us with a great opportunity in our city. And when we started over 3 decades ago, even just out of this small church in a basement, there wasn't as many competing commitments. So it was a wide open. We threw out a ball and children responded. And today we'll serve over 3,000 children, youth, and young adults every year across the city. And our mission really is just focused on, we want to go into our most vulnerable neighborhoods where our children live and help get them on a trajectory toward becoming a promising godly leader in our community, which would mean for us is they become a servant leader and they're also on a pathway toward gainful employment. And so we're trying to help them along the path. And programmatically for us, what that means to see that to fruition is we mobilize urban churches for urban youth ministry and after school learning programs. We have youth sports is real significant for us. We have a high school to young adult transition program. We name calling and career ministry. Excuse me. We also do family outreach. And one of the benefits now for our families is we partner with Cherokee Health Center and have a health clinic available to our families. And then we too are the organization that launched Knox County's only public charter school in Knoxville. So that's a little bit about us and our mission and programs.
Well, it's a great, I think the story, if somebody gets to hear it in full, is great. And I do want to, at the beginning, remind people that you would normally have a big gathering, which has almost become like a who's who, an event you got to be at in Knoxville, but it's going to be virtual this year. So when is that happening, Steve?
Well, May 1 and the week before that, we typically have 2,000 people at our event. 7 a.m. May 1 breakfast. That's an annual tradition. But in light of things, we cannot bring 2,000 people together. So we're going to run a 1-week online campaign, and that will culminate with a 30-minute online breakfast program you can do at home. And typically the breakfast is at 7 a.m. in the morning on a Friday morning. We did move it to 8 o'clock since we're not live and it's online, so it'll be a little more family friendly, but you'll still get a taste of the organization and some testimonies. And we typically, the centerpiece of our breakfast is always our choir, children's choir. We're not going to have the full choir this year, but we'll have an ensemble, so you'll still hear some of the children sing and testimonies, and it'll be a good week and a good morning. And it's, there's some traditions we've got to keep alive during this season.
Yeah, sure.
And there are people that actually look forward every year of coming together with people from all walks across our city and our county to be together to celebrate children. So we're still finding a way to do that through technology.
Well, I'm one of them that loves it. I've been all the years that last year I missed it because I was out of town, but all the years that I've been in town, I've always gone, and nobody wants to miss it. And I think it'll be really interesting to see it from a virtual perspective. So May 1st is the virtual event at 8 a.m. So we want to make sure that we we highlight that.
Thank you. We have we'll have details, already have details on our website, emeraldyouth.org. Please
Okay,
look
great.
at it for us
Great.
and spread the word. It ought to be a good gathering for people around inner city children. So even if you're not there to give, come and be with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things you said is a great segue into what I really wanted to highlight and talk about and try to get, again, a little bit more of the word out. I think that one of the things that I've heard said a lot is we're all in this together. And I think to some extent that's true, and to some extent that's not true. You know, there's a whole population of the most vulnerable, which is a word you said a little while ago, phrase, that are not in it together like the rest of us. You know, they're and there's actually a whole new set of more vulnerable people that were not in that category who've been thrust into that category. So I think the mission of nonprofits that are focused on the most vulnerable has only increased, but also become harder, I believe. And so I just thought it'd be great to know from you, you know, how has this, it's obvious that it's affected you, so I don't want it to be like those reporters that ask that question. It always drives me crazy. Like, what were you thinking when you were shooting that last basket? But I want to know, like, how has this impacted the ability for you to execute, especially when a lot of that mission is extremely physical presence?
Yeah, and thanks for recognizing this, Paul. If you ever push me in the corner and said, Steve, what's the number one problem you got to address with children living in vulnerable neighborhoods? And I'm going to say it's isolation and disconnection. In some cases, they live in neighborhoods that are isolated from the larger systems of society. You know, we put them in neighborhoods and that have, you know, were formed for that purpose many years ago, to be honest. So now couple COVID-19 on top of that.
Yeah.
Right. And then our big challenge is, and we realized it, that, you know, a lot of our children, if they have phones, or there's the smartphones, and there's some level of technology, but we realized how minimal it really was when we went to, while still trying to maintain relationships. That's got to be the core of what we do, especially for children that are isolated. You got to get them in relationship with adults, right? And relationships with the whole community and get them connected. So that's a key word for us: connect, connect, connect. Now we're having to try to connect as much as possible through technology. And that's been challenged because we weren't ready to do a lot of remote teaching. You know, and now we're discipling through technology. We're doing education through technology. We're doing sports videos and how to work out at home through technology. And we found that a good number of families still didn't have access to internet.
Yeah.
And also they had never been on a Zoom call before, or a Microsoft, you know, meetings call before, or, you know, a conference call that we take for granted. I mean, it's not embedded in the culture of our urban families, so therefore not embedded in the culture of our children or youth, or someone there to walk with them and how to navigate this new level of technology that's beyond, you know, Facebook or Twitter, or, you know, and so that's been a real challenge, but we've seen some good results. I mean, we're having 18 to 20 join on a study session, high school students around Zoom, or Instagram live Bible studies. You know, we're having to be real creative, innovative. I said our sports team, they're doing workouts that you use at home. Emerald Academy, our charter school, we had to physically put 200 Chromebooks inside of homes and then set up families for free Comcast internet service. And then some of these are non-English speaking families. We had to get translators to help teach the parents on how to use the technology so they could receive the remote learning from their teachers. So our mission through all of this, if you don't mind, I'll tell you two quick stories. Mission's unchanged. I was about a little over a week, I was mowing the yard. You know, your best thoughts come through mowing, right? Often. And it just, I was listening to a podcast and something just triggered me. And it's before you invited me to talk about our mission. So your call is like, I have to do it, because it just hit me. Said, I'm talking all the time about COVID-19 with our staff and our response. I've not been talking about our mission. And it was so like a ding, 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 a poke, right, that said, go back, tell our team, make sure they're reminded that our mission is unchanged.
Yeah.
We're trying to grow young people in faith and learning and health. Our delivery system is changed
Yeah.
quickly.
Good.
And I'm so proud of our people and how they're responding and overcoming these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other challenges in the home, like the food insecurities, et cetera. And we can talk about it a little bit if you'd like.
Awesome. That's a great point for, I think, everybody, is to remember that maybe the world has changed, the situation has changed, but the mission, the objectives of what we're trying to accomplish hasn't changed. I don't know if you've ever heard this statement from Andy Stanley. He says, "You want to die on the hill of your vision, not on the hill of your plans." And I think it's a really great statement, meaning that, vision, mission, whichever term you want to use, like, that is unchanged. The way that you go about delivering that may have to change based on circumstances, situations, things that happen in the world, but you die on the hill of that mission. They die on the hill of that vision. So that's a great point, Steve. I wonder, you said something that can you elaborate? So you had to, because I was working with a larger institution to try to help them, and it really didn't dawn on me until they called me and said, "Hey, we've got to do distance learning, but we have a whole population that doesn't have laptops, doesn't have internet, doesn't have the capabilities to use the technology." So tell us again. So you were able to deploy, like, how did you pull that off? 200 notebooks, Comcast. I mean, what did you do? Like, that's a monumental effort.
We only have two full-time IT people for Emerald Youth Foundation, Emerald Charter School. We have several hundred pieces of equipment, so they had to work hard.
Wow.
I have to give all them the credit. Our admin leader, David Wells, and our IT team, and then working with people at the school. What our school folks did, and our family engagement leaders, is they just tried to call every student, every parent, and try to assess their technology capabilities and technology needs.
Yeah.
And then from that assessment, and this all happened over a course of a week, laid out the game plan to put technology and access to internet and plan in just over a week, making the calls and then just guiding them through the process, which Paul, back to even like the connection, to people in isolation. I hope that the math and reading is really helpful education for our scholars right now at home. But the education that our parents and those children had to understand technology at a new level, in a new way, is opening doors, will open doors for them.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged about that as well. That won't get graded, but this, technology is not what we do. I mean, like your company. So we're just fortunate to have volunteers and people willing to come alongside of us and help, and our team that worked hard. That's one of my, I guess, testimonials on our staff side from this, is to recognize we had capacity I didn't know we had.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did you have to buy that many Chromebooks?
You know what? Fortunately for us, we had those Chromebooks in the school that were used in the classroom.
Okay.
So
Wow.
they had to clean them up and get them transferred to be for individual use. And we expect we will have damage, and we actually are out and try to raise $30,000 to replace Chromebooks for next school year. But we're 1-to-1 in our upper school. But this has made us think we need to get 1-to-1 technology, to the student in the whole school, K-8. We want to be ready like now, like floods, like, Knox County before the COVID, and even us for Emerald Academy, we'd only been to school about 30 days this year, even before COVID. I mean, from January 1.
Yeah.
What happens now, maybe we can do distance learning during a week when school's out for flu, or weeks out for rain and flood and snow now.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the byproducts of this will absolutely be, and I've watched it with my you can't see it because I have a fake background up here, but my daughter is sitting behind me, and she's a junior at Grace Christian Academy, and they pivoted really fast to distance learning, and I think it's exposed some weaknesses, but also some real. I give them a lot of credit. They've done a great job of it. Where I think that maybe for you, for Knox County, for some of these private schools, there'll be some new thoughts around how could we deliver education in really unique ways that actually help the learning process instead of the traditional sit you're behind in the desk and listen to somebody talk. I think there's going to be some really, really interesting byproducts of this. It sounds like you're thinking of that already.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hope we have time to figure it out, to get ahead of the game here. Just, now you just feel like you got to pivot fast, even in learning, and it's like get new information, innovation, and be ready to go.
Right. Two kind of things I wanted to ask, and sort of put a bow on it for this is, one, how big is your staff before volunteers, Steve?
For our Emerald Youth Foundation staff, we have 80 full-time folks, and we're spread across the city in different sites, different churches, different facilities, and then Emerald Charter Schools. With that school, we have another 70 staff. So together, we have 150 folks in between the two organizations.
Yeah, and so
volunteer-wise, we'll have several hundred volunteers through the year, usually about 300-400 per month.
Wow. So those 150 people that are full-time employees, are they mostly working from home at this point? Is everybody, in a work? You're at your office, I know, just because I see the board behind you.
I am. We definitely right away tried to be a part of reducing, density, and so we were able, for most of our office staff, we had the capability set up already for working at home. And so majority of people are probably coming into our corporate office. We typically would have 30 people in this building I'm in, and we're averaging 7 to 8 people now today. And then out in the field, we still have people that are interfacing some with children and families. They're taking them to get the food from Knox County schools, providing transportation. They're delivering supplies to homes. So they're still out and about some, but our field staff probably spending 60% of their time at home and 40% in, still in the field inside of homes in the community working.
Wow.
And so that, I've tried to balance. Do I work at home? Do I work here? Just the last few weeks have been so many unknowns. I'm on the phone, with the health department. We're on other video calls. It was just air traffic control, and it was easier for me to come here and have everything I need in one place. And you try to balance what role model here do you. But also have people in the field are having to get in their cars and put a kid in their car, take risk. And so I got to balance that as well, and not to ask them to do things I'm not willing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So how have you, from a leadership perspective, are you guys using Zoom or one of the Google products to kind of do team meets, staff meetings and stuff, or what are you guys doing to stay in communication?
We're Zoom and conference calls, and we were already, before this went down, had moved our phone system to Zoom phone, and so we were used to the product.
Yeah.
I think like you use here is Microsoft Teams. We're actually reviewing that now, that for the longer haul, and then our school is on Google products. Yeah. And that's what they're using for their lessons and their work at the school.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Well, the last thing I really want to throw out there, you hit one thing, which I really want to drive home, is that you're trying to raise $30,000 to buy new Chromebooks. Do you have a timeline of when you're trying to get to that number?
Yeah, we'll need that by June 30th, or actually, mid-June, to be ready for the next school year. We start our new school year July 1, so we got to be ready by that time. And I would tell you, Paul, this is a very generous community.
Yeah.
And people love children in our community, and it's a big reason why we believe our vision is possible, and that is that every child in every one of our vulnerable neighborhoods really has the opportunity for the full life Christ intended. And that means they may not all take advantage of it, but I want to go to bed at night, and I think many people in our town do go to bed at night knowing we gave them the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's going to be
Yeah.
technology. That's going to be our programs. That's going to be
Mhm.
sports. I mean, I want to know we did that, and hopefully they'll take advantage of it. And most will. Most
Yeah.
will. Some are vulnerable neighborhoods, just like the technology. We don't have equality, for that access. And I'm not, and well, we don't have time to go through that, but we can do it in Knoxville. We're only talking about 15,000 our inner city, but again, generous people, and we do need people to imagine with us. Imagine that Knoxville can be that city that's different than others, where even in our inner city, we don't see this huge gap between our urban and suburban peers in learning and faith or in sports or anything. Let's close the gap. We can do it. But we do need people to pray. And right now, I'd say pray for the protection of children and families. All over the world, the research is real clear that this kind of pandemic, is leading to a spike in domestic violence. I looked at one city that in 2 weeks had a 22% increase. My greatest fear for our children right now is what's going on behind closed doors we can't see.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart. And we just ask y'all to pray for that. And then we do need people to give. We have a family assistance fund. If you want to give directly to help us get food in the homes, we went into a house the other day and they had 3 or 4 cans of food for the whole family. So those needs are out there, but a lot of good food, responses, no question. But there's KUB bills. There's a girl we just helped had to pay her school loan, or she wasn't going to be able to stay in school. Our tuition. So there's ways we can directly help families right now, but also we need our organization and other nonprofits, not just Emerald Youth, but nonprofits, especially serving our vulnerable children and families and community. If you're able, you got to keep giving. We got to stay in this for the long haul, and people are sacrificial, they're generous. And I can tell you on our side, we put contingencies and plans in place. We're cutting expenses just like you are in your businesses.
Absolutely.
We got to be good stewards, but we can't do this without you staying with us.
Yeah. Well, so what I assume there's a place on the website people can give. Is that the best mechanism to go to emeraldyouth.org?
Yeah, we got a big green button that says give or donate here. And obviously, if you want to talk about how you can personally engage, if you don't even know for sure how to, engage, give us a call, or, and let us talk with you about ways that we can connect. I know we're talking to you, Paul, about some leadership connections down the road, and I thank you for your interest. How do you bring your marketplace talent and skills, acumen, and apply it to changing neighborhoods and changing lives forever?
Thanks, Steve.
We got to have volunteers that'll be hands-on with children.
Yeah.
We got to have people that can be thought leaders and bring other resources. And goodness, during this COVID, I think you can see we have to have the kind of skills that businesses and others have in the community to respond to the needs of our community.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, we love our city, love our community, have a heart for our kids. I think of, as you mentioned that, I think of Family Justice Center, which is a client of ours, like right in the dead center of what you're talking about around domestic violence. And I think of, again, Second Harvest, distributing food, to the most vulnerable. And I think of even Project Grad and Great Schools Partnership and these programs that are designed to help kids achieve, and kind of the statistics we know that if they graduate from high school and, and they can get a post-secondary education, the opportunities just increase and the risk is mitigated. And so, we want to support all those. And I do want to say to you, and to the folks that listen to this, is how important what Emerald Youth has done and is doing, and the heart that you guys have. You can hear it when you speak, Steve, and it's a testament to just the way that you love. It's a testament to Christ in you and into the I know you would give all the credit to the people that work for you, and that is very true. I mean, the volunteers, the employees are what makes it all happen. You and I could go away, and this thing would still keep running.
Absolutely, that's the goal, right?
That's what we want it to be. So,
Yeah.
so we appreciate you, and we appreciate Emerald Youth. And I want to remind people to give. I want to remind people to go to emeraldyouth.org and click the big green button. I want to remind people to go on there and find the phone number and give you guys a call. And if this is an area where your heart beats for kids, and this is a place to get involved, because it's a great organization. So I appreciate you, Steve.
Thank you, Paul. And
Yeah,
thank you to all your listeners.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm going to stop recording, and then we can chat for just a couple of seconds.
Okay.